I just love Righteous Fire. It was my first ever successful build in Path of Exile, and I have been improving upon it league after league until I reach what I think is the pinnacle of all Righteous Fire builds. While you can perfectly replicate this in league since it doesn't require any legacy items, it's going to be expensive for obvious reasons. We got over 25,000 energy shield, that alongside max block, stun immunity, almost capped maximum elemental resistances, good physical mitigations, big AoE, and good damage. We achieved that without having to use something like a mirror tier weapon. Alright, let's begin with our Ascendancy. We are a Guardian, generally considered the tankiest Ascendancy in the game. First we begin with Bastion of Hope. This one provides us with max block for 2 seconds every 5 seconds, stun immunity if we have blocked at least once in the past 10 seconds, and it's 10% chance to block spell damage if we have cast a spell recently, basically all the time. Next we have Time of Need. This one greatly reduces the effect of curses on us to almost nothing, and it's a huge burst of regen every 4 seconds. This greatly helps at sustaining the deadly onslaught of skills that Uber Bosses throws at us at the end game. Next we got Radiant Faith. This node provides us with armor and energy shield based on our reserved life and mana respectively. You want to reserve everything until you have nothing but 100 mana remaining. Last but not least we have Unwavering Faith. This one makes it so that auras we run will provide additional bonuses to both physical mitigations and life regen. These bonuses will scale alongside the inherent bonuses of the aura if you increase its effectiveness with items and passive tree. And yeah, that was it for our Ascendancy. Now let's take a look at our passive tree. Our tree focuses on energy shield, intelligence, fire damage and damage over time, area of effect, and most importantly, life regen, which we convert into energy shield regen with Zealot's Oath. The rest of our passive points are allocated into 2 large cluster jewel setups, each adding as many small fire damage nodes as possible. These have no notables on them, but rather, they focus on maximizing the benefits we get from smaller nodes by having them provide additional bonuses like energy shield, intelligence, and life regen. And yeah, that was it for our passive tree. Now let's talk about items. First we have a well-rolled Chevron's Wrappings chest piece. This one is required to play low life builds as it prevents chaos damage from bypassing energy shield. You should try to get one with either +1 or +2 level of socketed AoE gems if possible. Next we have a scepter with fractured intelligence on it. From here you can spam it with either Scorch Fossils for fire damage over time or a Veiled Chaos Orb until you get a collection of modifiers that you are satisfied with. There isn't really anything required here except having an empty suffix to deterministically add Aspect of the Spider via Beast Crafting recipe. Aspect of the Spider reserves 25% of our mana in exchange of increasing the damage that enemies take by 15%. Our next item is a rare shield with 3% to maximum fire resistance, 2% to all maximum resistances, and as much energy shield as possible. This shield was actually given to me by a friend for the sake of improving this build. If it wasn't corrupted, I would have crafted intelligence on it as a 3rd suffix. Anyway, next we have a helm with both 10% increased intelligence and -9 to the fire resistance of nearby enemies. You need to combine both influenced modifiers with an Awakener's Orb and hope to hit a 3rd good suffix. After that you metacraft the prefixes by either Reforged Defense Harvest Craft or double Exalt Slam until you hit a good energy shield roll. From there you hit it with Asling Bench for +2 level of socketed AoE gems and then craft the other missing energy shield mod. It's important that you do all of that on a helm with 24% increased Righteous Fire area of effect enchant. Our next item is an Eldritch influenced pair of gloves with tier 1 fire dot multi and 3% increased damage per 100 intelligence. For explicit modifiers, we got intelligence, a good resistance roll, and dexterity. You can easily craft something like this by spamming the item with Essences of Sorrow for dexterity until you hit it alongside the other good suffixes. After that you can craft the prefixes by using Eldritch currencies, which removes the need to use Divine Orbs and Exalted Orbs. Keep at it until you hit a good amount of energy shield that gets the item to at least 200. Same thing goes to our boots. Here we used intelligence essences until we hit both intelligence and a good amount of resistances. Then we used Eldritch currencies to craft the prefixes. After that we hit the item with Asling to get movement speed, and then manually crafted the other energy shield mod. For Eldritch implicits, we only care about the +2 to maximum fire resistance. Don't forget to enchant your boots with 2% life regen once you have time. Next we have Chevron's Revelation Ring placed in our right ring slot. This one provides us with a huge amount of energy shield regen and lots of intelligence. That's at the cost of removing all our mana regen. Now I know that sounds like a steep downside, however, you can easily mitigate that by recouping damage you take as mana. And we do have that crafted on our second ring as one of its prefixes. Aside from it, it has intelligence, strength, 15% increased maximum energy shield crusader mod, and a good resistance roll. Now if you came and asked me, Phoenix, what is the hardest item to craft in all of Path of Exile? I will easily answer you with Energy Shield Righteous Fire Amulets. These are so hard to craft that there isn't even one listed for mirror service online. Hence, we decided to go with a unique equivalent. We have Eyes of the Great Wolf with both increased attributes and 4% life regen. Fortunately, this is best in slot option defense wise, but it goes without saying, we are missing like 10% of our damage by not using a rare amulet. Make sure to anoint Arsonist on your amulet for that extra boost to regen and damage. Last but not least, we got the only mirrored item in this build. It's a belt with increased energy shield recovery rate, intelligence, and increased attributes on its suffixes. For prefixes, it's just as much energy shield as possible. Now you can deterministically get both the recovery mod and increased attributes together using an Awakener's Orb, but crafting the rest of the prefixes would require some good investment. But with that being said, we are done with our items. Now let's talk about gems that goes inside of them. For our main 6 link we have Vile Righteous Fire, Awakened Burning Damage Support, Awakened Elemental Focus, Efficacy, Inspiration, and Awakened Increased Area of Effect, which you are going to swap for Concentrated Effect for bosses. Next we got our primary aura setup. This one is a 4-link that goes in our helm to benefit from the extra levels to AoE gems. In it we have level 21 Purity of Fire, Discipline, Purity of Elements, and level 4 Enlighten. Next we have a 4-link setup intended for damage support. It contains Scorching Ray, Infused Channeling, Inspiration, and Flammability. Next we got our life reservation setup, starting with Malevolence, level 1 Clarity, Arrogance Support, and level 3 Enlighten. Next we have a 3-link setup with even more auras. These include Vitality, Defiance Banner, and yet another level 4 Enlighten. Last but not least, we got our primary mobility setup. This one has Phase Run, Increased Duration, and Divergent Arcane Surge. Make sure to assign this setup to your left mouse button to enjoy permanent uptime on both Phase Run and Arcane Surge buff. And yeah, that was it for our gems. Now let's talk about jewels. For our Watcher's Eye, we got 10% of our maximum mana gained as extra maximum energy shield while affected by Clarity, and 22% to damage overtime multiplier while affected by Malevolence. Feel free to get increased energy shield recovery rate if you are having issues with sustaining Righteous Fire. Aside from Watcher's Eye, we got both Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh jewels. Both of these should mention Sanctuary of Thought Hierophant Ascendancy node. With this we will reduce the reservation cost of all our skills, gain 20% of our maximum mana as extra maximum energy shield, and cut the mana cost of all our skills in half. This is important because we don't have any mana regen in this build. Next we got Middling of the Flesh jewel. This one sets our maximum elemental resistances to be equal to our highest element instead. Hence we scale fire and get all 3 elements to be equal to it. You are going to have 86% all maximum resistances with the nerfed version of this jewel. Next we got one Healthy Mind jewel that must have 2% reservation corruption implicit. Place it in this specific socket to convert nearby life nodes into mana. Our last mandatory unique jewel is Unnatural Instinct. Place this one in this specific socket to benefit from all nearby area of effect and skill duration nodes. Any remaining jewel socket you have left should be filled with a normal rare jewel like this one. We are looking to cap our elemental resistances first, then focus on defenses with energy shield and mana, then its damage modifiers all the way. Finally, for Bandit's quest, we decided not to help any of them as we are really starving on passive points. As for Pantheons, we got the Soul of Lunaris for the majors, and the Soul of Tukuhama for the minors. And yeah, that was it for the best Righteous Fire build to be ever released on this channel. If you guys have enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like, and maybe even subscribe so you don't miss out on any future build guides like this one. My name is Phoenix and I will see you all in the next video.